In this video, we're going to go over the watch list for the week of April 5th. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video, and you can also find it in the bio section of the social media accounts. Now I have SPY up first. Just want to point out a couple things. We did make it over 400 on Friday, and when we had Good Friday, we closed above 400 on Thursday. When we had Good Friday, futures was still open in ES, which is the futures, is it gapped up on Friday. It was trading up on Friday, so went all the way up to 440.38. So I would not be surprised if SPY ends up opening 402, maybe even 403. Now what it likes to do is when it gets to these big round numbers, they like to overshoot or undershoot, but in this case it's going to overshoot, so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we gap up to 403 and we either chop tomorrow or we end up selling off tomorrow in the morning. But I'm just taking a quick peek at the economic calendar for the week, and I don't see anything on Monday. I would get FOMC meetings 2 on Wednesday, and Powell speaking at noon on Thursday. So yeah, right now basically it looks like we have FOMC on Wednesday the 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we have Powell at noontime Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. So looks like it could be a choppy week, because usually it's kind of choppy when FOMC or Powell speaks, or we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, I would imagine that we're probably going to have a red week. I'm seeing a lot of things going on. Hold on, kind of like blow this up a little more. You get a bearish divergence going on SPY right here. As you see, it's making a higher high. It's the high is there, it's higher, but yeah, the histogram is making a lower high. That is why I think we're gonna end up gapping up and get everybody on the call side. Then they're gonna quickly dump it Monday or probably Tuesday. So definitely be watching for that. Now, as far as the bullish list, I'll get that out of the way since we'll see what. Remember, like I said, the bullish list is for if the market's strong, and the bearish list is if the market's weak. Now, I do like Lululemon. Every time Lulu gets underneath the 300, it likes to rebound, and it had good earnings, and it's just like one of those other ones where the stocks we've had the last earnings round, that good earnings, it just dumps and just doesn't care. It's just the way it is. So I think that Lululemon could end up reversing, but the chart also looks like it could fall apart right here under 299 to make it run to 280. But I definitely would like it over anything under 300 I'll end up buying long term, but anything over 303 for push to 305 to 310 is going to be a big area. Then this 315 area is pretty substantial. Than 320. It's been really struggling at the 320 range, but if it can manage to get out of the 320, it's probably going to end up rocketing to 340. So I would definitely keep an eye on Lululemon. Now, if the market does end up selling off, Lululemon will probably end up following it and probably could go down to 280 or even lower. So you have to be aware what the market is doing and trade accordingly. So if it does dip below 300 in the market's weak, I'm not going to get in. I'm going to wait till the market decides to find a footing or a bottom, then trade it that way. But if the market does start off strong, I think that Lululemon could make another run to 320 plus. So Apple is another one. Apple is just, it broke out of this area right here on the weekly, came up, came back and retested it. Now it's just chopping at this 120 level. So if it does manage to get over this 124, 125 would be a big level. Then you have the 127 area, then you have 130, And then if you manage to get over 130, you get 135 right here. It's a, well, 134, 135. That's going to be a pretty big substantial area. Then you have the 137 area. So definitely be watching Apple, depending on, like I said, what the market is doing. Now Costco is another one. Costco, I mean, it had its big massive run. I just think that I keep looking at the weekly, because the daily looks like it's overextended. If you look at the daily, I mean, just it's made a really big run right here. To me, I think it could possibly chop right in the 350 area. The weekly, on the other hand, I mean, it looks very, very oversold on the weekly, and the stochastics, the MACD is just starting to point up, and the histogram is starting to get close to the crossing over, so we could end up seeing a strong move on Costco. So it does manage to get over this 357 area. I mean, it's going to push to 360 and 370. Then you have this 373 area. Then you have this area right here around 378, 380. And you get the all-time high rate. Yeah, 380. Yeah, 380 is right there. Then you get all-time high right here, 388. Now, I think that Costco could end up going to $400 by the end of this year, assuming the market doesn't take a dump or anything. But that's what I'm thinking on that. QCOM is another one I'd be watching. Now, QCOM, it did break out of this little area where it's been like trapped. It had a strong move on Thursday. Like I said, this one is the same way as Costco. The histogram is starting to head towards the green area, and MACD is starting to like find a bottom, curl a little bit. So it did reject, or not reject, it did hold underneath the middle Keltner channel on the weekly, but if it does manage to get over the 140 area, even not even 140, if you get over the Thursday higher day, which is around 138.50, over 139, 140, it's over 140, it's probably going to push to 143. Then you have this 149, 150 area. Now 150 is likely to stall out because this gap resistance right here, and it likes the gap resistance is not going to usually break on the first shot. So it's likely to go up, retest 150, and then pull back and chop, and probably make a possible inverted head and shoulders before filling the gap. So yeah, I think that QCOM could have a strong move if the market is favorable, like I've been saying. Last one I have is ROKU. Now ROKU is just, I remember talking about the bearish divergence on this for like weeks and weeks, and I was just saying, okay, I mean, it's got room down to the 300, and I remember a lot of people saying, no, ROKU is not going to go to 300, and it came really close. It did go to 300, under 300, so I definitely did see that, and I remember getting a lot of hate messages about, there's no way ROKU's going to 300, and it did. It just took some time. So yeah, I'll be watching it over Thursday's high of 343. Push to 350. 350 would be a big area. Now, if it does manage to get over 350, you get this 360 area. Then you get this 370. Basically, every $10, and you got 380 right there. 400. Now, ROKU is just one of those stocks where it could just have one of these insane days like it had right here. So I'll have to keep an eye on ROKU to see if it will actually have a strong day. Now, ROKU, the only problem with ROKU is options are very, very expensive on Mondays or even early in the week, so it might be a common play for me. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the bullish side. I'm gonna jump to the bear side. I don't have that many on either side, because the reason I don't is the market's getting into an area where I think it's going to end up pulling back, and I just can't imagine that SPY is going to keep going too much further than what it is right now. I think it's going to end up having a strong pullback. I just wanted to see one thing before I get to the bearish side. Yeah, you get the weekly RCT trend line right here at the 360 area, so it's got room to drop and come back down if it does do that this week. So now Baidu. Now Baidu, I'd be thinking, okay, normally I would look for a reversal, but The thing I see is now Baidu was another one like Roku. Baidu was up here, and I was talking about the bearish divergence going on and the RSI being too high, and it was going to come back down, and I think I was saying 200. I'm not sure if I was 200 or not. I think I was saying either 250 or 200 was going to come down. And there was another one I got a lot of flack about with that. There's no way Baidu was going to do that, and yet Baidu's down here. Now, the reason I'm thinking that Baidu is going to go down lower, normally I'd be looking for a reversal, but it dropped right here, gap down, it dropped, came back up, and it's testing gap support right here again. And it doesn't like to go through and come back up to this area through the gap support right away. I think it's going to come back and reject and come back down to 180. So that is something I'd be watching for, at least 200. Now, I'm not saying it's going to collapse and go to 140. I'm thinking that it's going to reject this area right here, and it could pull back to 200 before making its run. I don't think it's going to make its run right now. Now, Home Depot is another one I'm watching. I mean, you got the RSI on the daily is in the mid 70s. The histogram is starting to push down, diverge, have a bearish divergence, is making higher highs. This is kind of starting to go down. So plus it broke out of the weekly channel it was in. Now likely what's going to end up happening is that when they break out of these channels, it's going to come back and retest it. So we could likely see Home Depot come back down to the 280, 285 area before making another run. Now, however, the weekly MACD did cross over, so I mean it could go higher, but I think it's going to end up coming back and retesting that. But we'll have to see how it develops and what happens and stuff like that. Now, Facebook is another one. It's diverging right here, as you can see on the histogram. It's making a higher high, and the histogram is making a lower high. So it is diverging, but it is at an area where it's trying to break out of this little area, the 260 to 300 area. It's been stuck in this range for at least 6, 7, 8 months. So it could break out, but they had news. I think it was Friday or Thursday Thursday at night after the market was closed about a data breach for Facebook. So Facebook might come down. Now Facebook's one of those stupid stocks that it gets bad news, it just keeps going. It's kind of like BA. So every time BA had bad news, it would rocket, and every time it had good news, it would dump. So Facebook is pretty much the same thing. It does that stupid price action towards bad news. So like it had a couple weeks ago or a week ago, where it had news about getting investigated or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Antitrust issues or something like that. They always have antitrust issues, and it just ignored it and just rocketed up. So I mean, this data breach could end up being ignored by Facebook, but who knows? I would definitely watch it under 296 for a push to 287. You can get the gap fill at 285. Then you have this 280 level. This 280 level has been a big level for Facebook for a while. If it does manage to break that, you get this 270 level. Then you have this 265, then 260 and 255. So we'll have to see what happens with Facebook and see if it reacts to that news that it had over the weekend. But we'll have to see. McDonald's is another one. Now, the thing I keep looking at is it's chopping right here. MACD is starting to, the histogram is starting to turn red. It's starting to cross over. It's chopping, and it has rejected this 230 area, and it didn't get up to 230, but it's in the 225 area. But every time it gets into these like little chop sessions right here and right here and right here, it just likes to pull back when it's at the top of the Kellner channel. So it's done it here, 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 and here. So I'm thinking it could possibly pull back. So I would watch it underneath 223. Yeah, 223. If it does lose this 222 area, it's got quite a bit drop right here. It can drop to the 220s. Then you got this area right here, 217, 215, and you get 210. Then you get the 206, 205 area. So we'll have to see how much of a pullback McDonald's has, if it has at all. I mean, it could just consolidate right here more and just rock and break out and make an all-time high. So it definitely could do that. But I'm thinking it's going to end up doing like it did here, here, and here on the weekly. So, but also the weekly is showing a big inverted head and shoulders. You get the left shoulder here, head here, and a right shoulder. So it could possibly end up breaking out. Just be aware that there is inverted head and shoulders on the weekly, but I don't think it's going to play out. I could be completely wrong, but I definitely am looking at it from the shorter side of McDonald's if it does end up managing to dump. Now Target, Target, I'm thinking pretty much the same thing. You know, it's been diverging since back here. It's just been diverging, and it did drop right here, but it came back up. I'm looking at it from the same point thing right here. It's rejecting this 200 area. It's just chopping and chopping. Now it can go higher, make higher highs, but it being outside of the Kellner channel on the daily right here and here, it likes to pull back in. So I would definitely like to see it pull back to the 190, even the 180, whether it will or not. But I think that we could end up seeing something like that on Target. Target's getting a little extended on the daily, but I would watch it underneath 200, 199 for push to 198. Then you get this 190 area. Then you get 187. You get this area right here, 180, 178. You get the 175. So we'll have to watch Target to see if that does end up playing out. Now, like I said, that as it's chopping here, it's starting to diverge a little bit. But like I said, it could chop and break out. But I'm looking at this right here, the same as I was looking at with McDonald's. So that it could end up, see right here, it chopped and it came back in. Right here, it could do the same thing. The last one is BABA, BABA. Now, normally I would think that it's going to end up rebounding a little bit, and it could definitely rebound right here, but I'm looking at the inverted head, inverted cup and handle on the weekly. You got the cup, then you got the handle, and if it does manage to break this 220 level, it could definitely go down to 200 to even the 190 area. I don't really think it's going to get below 200 unless the market conditions are really, really bad. You know, and I used to love trading BABA, but ever since this whole thing with the government of China and Jack, the drama surrounding that stuff, I don't really have much hope for this right now, unless something changes with the company or the government or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but I'd definitely watch it underneath the 220 area for a push to 200. I can't even really see underneath that, but yeah, 220. You get the 210, right? 212, 213 area. You get to 207 on the weekly. 200 would be a big psychological number. Then you get this area right here at 195. So definitely be watching BABA. Though that is going to do it. The watch list is very short for now. Now a lot of it's going to be very depending on what happens with news. If something scares the market, ends up collapsing. Now VIX. Just want to bring up VIX really quick. Now VIX is down below 17. It hasn't been down here since the pandemic hit. So last time it was down here was in February 17th last year, 2020. So it's at really, really low levels right here on the VIX, and I was looking at the CPCE, and it's not extremely oversold yet. I mean, tomorrow could be a green day before I end up taking a pounding on Tuesday. So, like I said, you just have to be prepared on what could possibly happen. I think, like I've been saying throughout the video, that we could end up seeing a gap up tomorrow and possibly a sell-off tomorrow or Tuesday, and we got FOMC and Powell speaking on Thursday. So the market could be really volatile this week and could be very sporadic. Could be up and down based on that. So just trade carefully, be cautious, and please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's going to do it for the watch list. Thanks.